It was more than a dance. It was a prophecy, a vision so powerful, so terrifying, that America moved to crush it before it could come true. This is the true story of the ghost dance, and the hope they could not silence. The origins of the ghost dance. The ghost dance emerged as a spiritual awakening among Native American tribes in the western United States. It originated with the Paiute people in 1869 after an elder and medicine man, Watsiwap, experienced a series of prophetic visions. These revelations spoke of a restored earth and divine aid for the Paiute, as foretold by their ancestors. At first, Watsiwap envisioned a great upheaval that would wipe out settlers, leaving only indigenous people behind. Later, his prophecy shifted. He saw a cleansing of all people from the land, after which those who remained true to their ancestral traditions would be miraculously revived. Eventually, his message softened, promising eternal peace and harmony for followers of his teachings, rather than destruction. Central to the ghost dance was a ceremonial circle dance inspired by these visions. Watsiwap died in 1872, but years later, on January 1, 1889, another Paiute man, Woboka, also known as Jack Wilson, had a powerful dream during a solar eclipse. Woboka's divine revelation. In this vision, Woboka died, spoke with the Creator, and was instructed to teach a new dance to his people. His prophecy echoed Watsiwap's. Settlers would vanish, the buffalo would return, and native peoples would reclaim their lands. The dead would rise, and all would live in harmony. Woboka's father, Tavibo, had once aided Watsiwap, and after Tavibo's passing, Woboka was raised by a settler family, the Wilsons. News of Woboka's visions drew representatives from many tribes seeking guidance. Letters and messengers spread the teachings, explaining the sacred dance that would help renew the earth. Leaders of the movement traveled among tribes, sharing the prophecy and instructing them in the ritual. Unlike earlier prophecies, Woboka preached peaceful coexistence with settlers. Influenced by Christianity, his teachings sometimes referenced a messianic figure. He believed that performing the ghost dance would bring about his vision of a harmonious world. Woboka gave precise instructions. Upon returning home, his followers were to dance for 4 nights in a row. On the 5th day, they were to dance until dawn, then cleanse themselves in a river before going home. This ritual was to be repeated every 6 weeks, accompanied by a communal feast where all could share food. The sacred attire and ceremony. Clad in garments adorned with eagle feathers, claws, and horns, known as ghost shirts, the Native Americans believed these sacred vestments would shield them from harm. Medicine men and spiritual leaders stood before the gathered crowd, reinforcing the prophecy's message and directing the ceremony. They guided the people in the dance's movements, the chants to be sung, and the formation of the sacred circle. At the center of the gathering, the ghost dance singers took their place, sometimes surrounding a revered pole. The participants joined hands, moving in a slow, swaying step, shuffling side to side as they chanted in unison. As the rhythm intensified, some dancers entered deep trances, breaking away from the circle or collapsing, overcome by spiritual ecstasy. Ghost dance drew immense crowds, sometimes hundreds, even thousands. Federal agents from the Bureau of Indian Affairs grew uneasy as they witnessed vast numbers of Native people uniting for this unfamiliar ritual. In early October 1890, Kicking Bear, a Lakota Sioux, arrived at Standing Rock to speak with Sitting Bull. Kicking Bear recounted his journey to meet Woboka, describing how countless tribes now revered him as a messiah. He shared the prophecy. By the next spring, when the grass grew tall, the land would be reborn, swallowing the white settlers and covering the earth in fresh soil, lush grass, flowing streams, and forests. The vanished buffalo and wild horses would return, and those who danced the ghost dance would be lifted into the sky as the world renewed beneath them. When the transformation was complete, they would descend alongside the spirits of their ancestors. As the Lakota embraced the ghost dance, federal agents grew increasingly alarmed. They accused the Sioux of turning the ritual into a militant act, crafting ghost shirts in the belief they were bulletproof. The dancers spoke openly of their hopes, further unsettling the authorities. In response, the Indian agent overseeing the Lakota dispatched tribal police to arrest Sitting Bull and suppress the dance, a decision that would lead to tragedy. Doctor? The aftermath of Sitting Bull's death. The confrontation turned deadly, resulting in Sitting Bull's death and the loss of several tribal policemen. In response, the U.S. government deployed troops to confiscate weapons from the Lakota Sioux. This escalation culminated in the Wounded Knee Massacre on December 29, 1890, when 457 U.S. soldiers indiscriminately fired upon the Lakota, slaughtering over 200 men, women, and children. 25 law enforcement officers also perished in the violence. The decline of the ghost dance. The movement had reached its zenith just before the massacre. After the tragedy, disillusionment spread as the promised resurrection failed to occur, and ghost shirts proved powerless against bullets. Many followers abandoned the practice, though some retained their faith. Wovoka, disheartened by death threats and the distortion of his teachings, withdrew from public life, but continued guiding his followers privately until his death in 1932. Between 1891 and 1892, it spread to tribes like the Pawnee, Aru, Osage, and Quapaw, who adapted it with their own songs, regalia, and rituals. On the Pine Ridge Reservation, Commissioner Thomas J. Morgan observed the dance in Oklahoma and, finding no threat of violence, allowed it to continue. The ceremonies endured there until at least 1914. A lasting legacy. The ghost dance's influence echoes in other native traditions, the sun dance, bear dance, and peyote religion, all sharing its vision of renewal and hope. Today, practitioners still honor its teachings, preserving it as both a spiritual practice and a symbol of cultural resilience. They tried to erase the ghost dance, but the spirit of hope still rises today. Thank you for joining us in exploring this profound chapter of Native American history. If you believe their story must never be forgotten, hit the like button, subscribe. And tell me in the comments, would you have danced?